Hello everyone and welcome to my 100 subscriber special. My name is Chris and joining me today instead of Jason is the much more dependable and trustworthy Rocky, my little border collie who can be seen at the top right from time to time. Now instead of doing something related to League of Legends as usual, I decided to do something different, and one thing I enjoy doing is making sandwiches. So today I'll be making a very simple and humble creation of mine. So we start with this super cheap $1 soon to expire loaf of bread. Now our first true test of dexterity will be ensuring we get a nice, slow, and clean cut through the center of the bread. Making sure that by the end of the cut, both halves will have nearly equal mass, as this will have a serious impact later. Up next, we will flip the top half over and place it above the bottom half. In our next display of skill and detail, we will be adding a thick layer of Hellmann's real mayonnaise. And yes, it is not lost on me how the labels for everything are upside down. Just do your best. Now, the key to mayonnaise is all about establishing 100% coverage. I can't stress that point enough throughout this video. Now, it may be a bit of a chore, but the results will be well worth it. Take your time and get a nice, dense, but even distribution. Get a few giant globs of the stuff and gather it into a mighty tidal wave that envelops all before it. You can move on to the next phase when your view of the loaf has been completely obstructed by your mayonnaise application. Next up will be a nice foundation of some oven roasted turkey breast. It looks as though someone has already thoroughly pulverized some of these pieces, but do your best to lay each one out left to right by placing each consecutive piece over the halfway point of the previous. Once again, the key is coverage. If done properly, most, if not all, of the mayonnaise should be rendered invisible to the naked eye. So once we have established a commanding turkey presence, next up to bat will be some classic pepperoni. I end up having some trouble and utterly destroy the bag in my futile attempts to open it conventionally. Now watch closely as this formation of the pepperoni spread guarantees stability for later. Throw a few pieces to your patiently waiting furry friend whose support and companionship makes all this possible. Lastly, Add pieces as needed throughout the center to maximize coverage. Next, apply a healthy coat of black pepper on top of the pepperoni, which I find gives it an extra bit of flavor. And finally, now we've come this far, it's time for the primary ingredient that gives the sandwich its heart and soul. That's right, bacon. Evenly apply each strip to the best of your ability, keeping coverage in mind above all else. Don't be so foolish, thinking one box of bacon would be sufficient for such a Herculean task. While I do my best to fill this in, I'd like to recommend setting aside some personal time for yourself when forging a sandwich like this. You don't need any friends or family hanging around poisoning your mind with what their expectations of a normal sandwich are. Once you've gotten through the second box, you might begin to question what you're creating. You have to push past that and remain confident. If you've made it to box 3, you have crushed your doubts and stayed the course. Now that we're reaching the end, stability becomes just as much an issue as coverage. As a final note, as we wrap up the bacon stage, I would like to mention the customary beverage to accompany this sandwich is a gallon of chocolate milk. Closing out the meats will be a nice topping of fajita white meat chicken. At this point, space and stability are truly becoming the chief opponents. Thankfully, though, due to massive shrinkflation, the bag is only about 10 to 15% filled upon being opened, thus heavily negating any potential ingredient fallout that could occur during transit. Carefully place your meager supply of chicken in a neat line on top of the conveniently flat bacon strips. Don't forget to donate some to your furry friend during this stage. Our last ingredient will be a very generous and haphazard application of mozzarella cheese. Don't skimp on this one, as it will be the glue that holds our humble little creation together. When you have it covered from head to toe, you can move on. Finally, place the top back on and crush down on it hard, compacting it as if it was a 1980s era transformer turning from a plane or truck to a screwdriver or wrench. Last thing to do is place the entire sandwich in the microwave for about 2 minutes. This will allow the cheese to melt and hold the ingredients together, as well as reduce the mayonnaise to a pseudo-grease-like condiment, further adding flavor. A sandwich like this cannot be cut in half, only eaten and enjoyed in its fullest, most pure form. If your microwave is not big enough, that's tough. Don't forget about that gallon of milk. Thank you for watching my 100 subscriber special, and I'll see you guys again at 1,000.